Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we will be discussing lodge social events.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have three-quarters of our usual hosts. We have Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth, who's a member of King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington. Very Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles Lodge number 153 in Kelowna, BC. And I'm Matt Appel. I'm a member of Mill Creek 243 here in Montlake Terrace, Washington. And unfortunately, Craig couldn't be with us this evening. He's off dealing with some family issues, and we wish him the best and hope to talk to him soon. But we're going to forage on no, that's not the right word. Forage on without him, and talk about this lodge social events. So I guess
there'll definitely be some foraging tonight.
So to sort of start it off, we talk about lodge social events. I guess my question is, Steve, this was your suggestion for a topic. So how are we going to define this? Or is it every event that's not a business meeting? How are we defining lodge social events here this evening?
Well, there's different kinds of social events. Like, we have social nights, we have outings like bowling, we have barbecues, we have other events that we put on, like Robbie Burns night, like the dinner table lodge, and then there's just socials where we go to a pub night, right? And things like that. Then, of course, the social aspect of our meeting nights would be our festive boards, right? So just we could talk about those things and how they apply to Freemasonry and our membership and our the different opportunities they afford and so on.
Yeah, we've talked about this podcast being essentially the guys after the meeting sitting around and talking kind of a conversation. So on some level, at every lodge meeting, there ends up being a social time where a bunch of guys sit around and shoot the breeze. Or for instance, actually, this weekend, David and I were at a district meeting this weekend for here in Washington. And it's, at least in Washington, it's not a formal structured event, but there's still, people talking from the front of the room and that sort of thing. But, we were all sitting around tables, and you could tell there were people talking in the background while all stuff was going on and that sort of thing, and eating dinner and that sort of thing. So it's sort of a lot of events are hybrids, I guess is what I'm saying, of a businessy, socially kind of thing.
Yeah. Like there's the galas that we would bring our wives to and make it a big spectacle night. That's really a couples event, right? I think that like we did our Robbie Burns night, like Prince Charles Lodge did something a little different to be outside the box. Most other lodges, when they do a Robbie Burns night, they do it in January, which I think has got something to do with his birthday, right?
January 25th. Yep.
Right. And, it's still a nice formal event, but we decided to not fight the battle to get all the pipers and dancers and do it anywhere the weekend closest to October 1st, which is the day he was raised a Master Mason. Right, and we celebrate that, and we had speakers that talked about his Masonic journey and so on, and it was a nice formal affair that we could bring our wives to and have a really nice served dinner that was properly catered, so that we didn't have to, as a lodge, any of our members didn't have to work the kitchen or anything else, right? Because that's always the common complaint from the wives is that, you have these fun events or fancy events, but then you spend half your time running around cleaning up or doing work in the kitchen or whatever. And then I'm left here sitting by myself, right? And so we specifically made an event and planned it well enough so that didn't happen, right?
Or worse, we ask our wives to do it for us.
Oh, bad idea. Bad idea, right?
There was actually going back to the district meetings that David and I went to. One of the deputies said that, how did he phrase it? He spent a lot of time and effort figuring out how to get his wife to organize it. So,
Well, I mean, some guys might want to do that, but in our lodge, our wives would prefer not to, right? They don't mind, when it comes to a social Friday night social thing, to do potluck and everybody chips in because it's not really a formal affair at that point, right? But, all of these social events, they're either an opportunity for us to mingle and get to know our brothers better, or our brothers' spouses, and therefore expanding our own social circles at the same time. Plus, it gives the wives a chance to meet each other. And now I've through having done a few of these types of things, my wife, well, when I say, do you want to go to this or that, she says, well, is Kate going or is Linda going? And if they are, my odds of her coming are much greater.
how many of those events do you guys think your lodges have in a year?
Well, we have one, sometimes two bigger events, right? We try to also do other social things like we do a barbecue in the summer. We do things like bowling. But hey, we just installed 2 dartboard cabinets in our hall, and the hope is that we're going to try and have a Friday night social, either the first or second Friday of every month or something like that. And we'll stock we'll put a box in there that'll have some playing cards and crib boards and pads and pens, and make it just a games social night. And we, of course, will try and wrangle our stewards into opening the bar and make it more just casual social. We used to have those every once a month, and then COVID hit, right? So it was rather challenging, kind of killed that off. And so it would be really nice to revive that. It used to be a potluck that we did every month. And it was great because we could bring our seekers to it and, really get to know the seekers. Do you guys do socials down there much?
We don't have necessarily big events like formal events. We started, we used to have a table lodge every year. We did that for 10 years. And then about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, just maybe just after, I don't know if we started just before COVID and then had to stop, or if it was after. And we switched to a family barbecue. So instead of our August meeting night, we always meet on the second Monday. So instead of the second Monday in August meeting, we have a barbecue. That used to be our table lodge night. And then now it's family barbecue night. And that's been really successful. It's allowed everybody to come together, and of course, seekers and stuff. It's still kind of in its infancies, I would say, less than 5 years. It's still technically still kind of new.
And that's one the whole family can come to, the
Absolutely.
kids and
Yeah.
grandkids and all that too.
And then
which is really cool.
Our installations in December are always open. And so in theory, anybody can come to that. We used to have a Christmas party that following Sunday afternoon, but we rent our building quite a bit now. And so it's not worked out the last couple of years. And we were trying to figure out how to reinitiate that. So I think this year they're going to try to do something on somewhere around. And our traditional Santa Claus had been doing it for 25 or 30 years. He passed. And so a new member is kind of stepping in, but I don't know what they're going to do this year. We'll have to see. We'll reimagine our Christmas party idea. Our for us anyway, our big social things are we always used to have our supper. We don't have a festive board situation after the meetings. We always have our suppers before. At least when I started, I can't hardly believe this. It's been 18 years now. When I started 18 years ago, they had just brought back suppers and social before the meeting. They hadn't been doing it for a while, I guess. And so, but all I've known is a social supper beforehand. And we've been doing that. And it was, it was only the second Monday before our meetings. And so it was, as I kind of took over the website and then prospects, seekers and stuff, I was meeting a lot of guys, and I said, hey guys, I need to have you come out and help me with this, meeting these new seekers. And so I don't know if I'm sure I stole it from somewhere. I don't come up with a lot of original ideas. I like to repurpose ideas, but maybe I did. But I thought, let's have a social night that we can, under the guise of, I do want to hang out with my brothers. I do. But under the guise of bringing the seekers out to our social nights, having an opportunity to bring them to something else. And so I looked at the calendar and I said, okay, our meeting's on the second Monday. Why don't I have the fourth Thursday as our social night, or men's social night? And I think I will give myself a little more credit, because when I was deputy, I would go out, and the message I would give to the different lodges is, when we call ourselves brothers, but when was the last time you sat down with your brothers and had a steak dinner? Or when was the last time you went out bowling or went out and had fun with your brothers? We come to these meetings and we sit in these meetings, and you might have a supper beforehand, but if it was your brother, wouldn't you just go and hang out at their house, or just go and just be? You wouldn't have to have a formal reason to be, like my brother, I call him and it's 2 hours later, I got to pack a lunch when I'm talking to him, because it's 2 hours on the phone. He lives in Arizona, but when I was, we used to go to his house, we'd go out and we just would hang out. It wasn't, I didn't have to have an appointment and a formal night and all that. I just would go hang out. So I think that's what it came out of. I said, we need to have more opportunity to sit with our brothers and hang out and get to know each other. And then again, also gave the seekers an opportunity to bring the seekers. And so I started doing that. And I wanted to also have a breakfast. We used to have, when I first joined, we used to have a breakfast at our building that the lodge members did on, I don't remember what Sunday it was, but it was a Sunday afternoon. And then we used to have our district lodge officers meetings that would follow that breakfast. And then that faded out, of course, as things do. And when I was master, I made a deal with a local restaurant that our brother owns, and said, hey, in your banquet room upstairs, could we have the breakfast? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, we worked it all out, and we only had to pay for what we ate, and not have, most of the time what was happening is at our building, you get 20 people that would come, and we'd plan for 40, and you'd lose money every month. Right. So we did the breakfast, and that actually worked really well. People kind of complained because it was just standard restaurant fare. It wasn't custom orders and all that kind of stuff. People would ask for eggs Benedict. Anyway, we had some special stuff at the lodge they would do. And so the next year, I won't name them, but one of our concordant organizations says, well, we're going to take over the breakfast and bring it back to our lodge. Well, out of the 10 or 12 months that we would have had breakfast, I think they did 7 or 8 of them. They would kind of randomly cancel, and then they wouldn't have it, or they would not have enough food, or it would not be ready. It just was kind of a bad experience that year. And so then it just went away completely for the breakfast. And so for probably more than almost 10 years, I've always wanted to have another breakfast again. Since we were already having the social nights at our brother's restaurant in the back room, I asked if we could do a breakfast just out front. We'll just order off the menu. He said, yeah, of course, just come out. We'll kind of push some tables together. And so I tried myself to get it to work for a couple of years, and I couldn't get people to be interested. And we had a good brother, a friend of mine, that had moved to Missouri. And when he came back after about 3 years, he said, "Okay, I'm back." He said, "What's the lodge? What does the lodge need?" And I said, "Tom, we need a breakfast. We need to have this breakfast get kicked off, I think." And he goes, "Okay, done." And he started. He went on the first Saturday and started it, and it's still we're still trying to figure it out. As some months there'll be 10 or 12 people there, and some months it's 3 or 4 of us. But it's so now the long story is we have first Saturday breakfast in the morning. Second Monday is our social and meeting and supper and meeting night, and then the fourth Thursday is our just social hangout. That fourth Thursday social hangout was it does fluctuate too, but it was kind of crazy. 2 months ago, we have some new younger members joining, and they have kids, and they have always brought their kids with them, which is awesome, and they hang out and they're growing up just kind of like my girls. They're growing up with the lodge, right? And and so I this last month though, we had another mentored apprentice brought his fiance and their son, and another Mason brought his, or another seeker brought his daughter. I think we had 5 kids under 5 at this social in the back room at a pub. It was a little bit crazy because there was probably 15 people and then the 5 kids. It's a little bit crazy, but it was fun to have that experience. And so it's new. That's the fun part about it. There's new interest and new activity happening in our lodge. So
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, it's it is often the social glue to a lodge is having any kind of social event where families can participate, right? Like we've got families that really look forward to our annual Christmas party every year. It's a big potluck. The worshipful master cooks a turkey and a ham, and everybody else signs up on Google Forms as to what they're bringing. And our worshipful master this year, his I think last 2 years, he's had 30 family members come. Right, his daughters and all the husbands and the kids and the grandkids, and so it's a big to do that way for that family. They all love coming, and I mean, some of us, our kids and grandkids have kind of grown and flown the coop, and they don't come to all these things anymore, right? So, but we've got one of the shrine clowns, and he does the balloons and things like that. So, it's really it's really cool to have these events, even if they're not consistent events, all through the year, right? Like, I mean, we have our standard barbecue and our Christmas party. Those are the 2 off-season events, and whatever else we can throw in, right?
We also had a New Year's Eve party this year. It was our worship master. He wanted to, and it was kind of spur of the moment. And I think there was about 40 people there. It was actually kind of a amazing turnout for such a spur of the moment thing. But he's connected to Eastern Star. Him and his wife are, and so there was a lot of non-members, if you will, at the event. But it was really fun. Going back to your point that Steve, that having these social events are kind of the glue. I would absolutely say that in a hard second position, I would say our Shrink the Lodge was, and I'm going to tout that till I die. I think Shrink the Lodges are a critical thing that lodges should do to bind members together. But the social nights, I think, have really allowed the members to get to know each other and to become friends, as well as get to know the seekers. And so I think that's a strong second position, that the social nights are a key factor to our success in the last 5 years.
Well, we have a festive board after every meeting, and it's not a formal festive board at our lodge. Some lodges do a formal festive board where they do all the toasts and everything else, but we see it as our opportunity just to hang out together and get to know our brothers and socialize and just chit chat about everything except religion and politics.
What night of the week do you guys meet?
Second and fourth Monday of each month.
Okay, so
second Monday is our regular meeting. fourth Monday is if we have an emergent meeting to do degree
Yeah.
work or
Yeah.
whatever, right? You know, um,
Matt, do you,
so
Matt, do you guys have supper before your meetings, or do you just have your meeting and go in?
No, yeah, we do dinner at 6:30. The meeting starts at 7:30.
Okay.
So yeah.
we used to try that, but our stewards aren't consistently willing to do that, and we had the Eastern Star for a while, cooking the meals for us, and but then they lost shrunk in numbers, and the main one had her second baby, and I don't know why she didn't have time to do it anymore, right?
What time
But
does your meeting start at 7:30?
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So that's pretty late then if you're getting out at 9 or 9:30 and then having a festive board after that.
Yeah, well, you know what? The wives already know we're gone for the night. By the time we get home, they're usually toast anyway, so
Yeah.
or got well in control of that remote. So, for us it's like not a big deal, right? Because if we go visiting and traveling up and down our district, we go to the other end of the district, hour and a half drive home after a meeting. So, and when we go visit, we always make sure we stay for the social, the
Yeah.
festive board after, and because you know what, that's the only time we really get to do that with those other lodges,
Yeah.
right?
But if you got to
And
get up, if guys got to get up at 5 o'clock or whatever the next morning for work, it's going to be
take
kind
a nap, right? And you know what? Jump in the back seat for the carpool, get a nap on the way home, right? Because it's like I tell the seekers, Freemasonry isn't something that you find time for. It's something you make time for. And if you're going to do it all in, right? If you're going to visit wholeheartedly. Go to lodge. You're already out for the night. Plan to go home late, right? They say, well, I got to work at 4 or 5, and I got to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Okay, take a nap before you come to lodge. Shift your schedule for the night. I mean, if there was a concert in town on a Wednesday and Thursday, and it was your favorite band, would you go? Right? And you'd be out later than lodge, right? So I mean, granted, that's only once every other month or something, but uh, you know, uh, it's really, really important because one of the things that was on these notes that were passed around, the mental health and the brotherhood. This is how we get it, by making those connections, and through making those connections, I've got brothers that I go and spend time with. We make time to go ride our motorcycles together. We go for lunch together. We have them. I have some of them over for that steak dinner, right? And that's only because we've made time for these social events, right? Got to
Yeah.
know them well enough that my wife would let them in the house. And know that we're not here to party it up, right?
Matt, do you guys do other social things besides the suppers before meetings? Do you have other events?
Yeah, so we call it a sweethearts dinner every year. Uh, ours is usually in the fall, so October, November timeframe. And then we have our sister lodge in BC has one around Valentine's Day. So we try to make an effort to get up there to North Star. North Star? Yeah. Um, trying to remember what town they're in, but I can't remember. It's not too far from the border. Well, we try to get up there once a year, and we try to make that a. It's not a lodge night. It's just a dinner kind of thing. So we try to bring our wives and make it something bigger than that. But it's still, I mean, unsurprisingly, I'm sure it's still harder for us to get our large numbers of people to go across the border than it is for us to show up in our town.
Yeah.
So but we still, yeah. So anyway, the point is, we have Sweethearts dinner once and a half a year. We do. So our lodge meets on the fourth Tuesday. On the third Tuesday of every month, we have something. We either go to, like Steve was saying, we go bowling, or we just go to a local brewery, or we do something just to do something. And again, that's an opportunity for seekers to come and that sort of stuff. Um, this I in March it had to be canceled because the third Tuesday just happened to be St. Patrick's Day, and everywhere we could think of to go was overwhelmed already. So we just decided not to bother. But yeah, so we do a few things like that. We try and do a picnic over the summer, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's yes, we do. I guess is the answer. We do social things. So,
Yeah. I know there's another lodge locally that does a camp out every year. They'll go up to the Granite Falls in Washington State. There's a Masonic park in Granite Falls that's a year-round camping park. It's open to the public as well, right? Yeah, and
I think so. Yeah.
that's at least at times, and I think it's open to the public. But then in theory, Masons get a better deal or something, which I think is kind of crazy because why you just pay regular rate? I mean, they're always that's a whole other that could be a whole other show, that Granite Falls Park, uh, but it's actually a beautiful area up there, and it just doesn't have any dang cell service. But
Yeah, depending on who you ask, that's a great thing or a terrible thing.
exactly,
It's one or the other.
but it's nice. They go up there and they have their annual. I think they might do it the weekend of or before the outdoor degree. I think it might be the weekend of the outdoor degree.
Mhm.
Not exactly sure, but they're up there every year to do that. And this particular lodge is also doing a lot more social stuff. They kind of downplayed social aspects of lodge for a long time, and being that they felt that esoteric ideas were a little more important. And now it's a little bit ironic to me that they now kind of come full circle and they're back to doing social. They go to the range and they'll do camping and they'll do lots of almost every month there's something social happening.
Gotcha. In Star Wars. Yeah.
Right.
We actually have up here. The district we have a quarterly competition, sort of a friendly competition between the lodges. So it's whatever, it's bowling, or we had a brew off one time. We went to a local place where you brew your own beer, and poker night and all that sort of stuff. So we sort of rotate through, and the first lodge to do it bought a giant wrestling belt kind of thing. So it's huge.
Nice.
And the winning lodge gets to take the belt home and hang it up during their lodge meeting and that sort of stuff. So
that's cool.
It's a friendly competition that lets us. It's not just our lodge that way; it's the whole district getting together and doing stuff.
Very cool.
That said, since I've finished talking, it's probably about time for us to wrap up. We're hitting about the end of the time frame here, so I guess So we'll come back, but we'll be talk more about social events, I'm sure, as we move along. If you guys out there and listening have any events that your lodge likes to do, please. I'm always excited to hear new ideas for things like that, because there's as David likes to say, we like to steal ideas from other people, and we pretend it's flattery even. So
well, why reinvent a wheel if it works, right?
Exactly.
Like I'm gonna repurpose his shrinking the lodge.
Uh-huh.
So great ideas.
So anyway, yep, exactly. So yeah, if you have a good idea out there, please let us know, and we're happy to entertain it and think about it, and maybe mention it on a future show and such. But until then, on behalf of David and Stephen and the absent Craig and myself, thank you all for listening to the Working Tools Podcast. Goodbye.